Welcome back. Have you ever wondered how something as simple as reheating food could pose a serious health risk, especially for seniors? Well, you might be shocked to learn that reheating the wrong foods can actually lead to foodborne illnesses, and for older adults, the consequences can be much more severe. Imagine 1 in 6 people get sick every year from foodborne illnesses, and seniors are at an even greater risk. Why? Because as we get older, our immune systems aren't as strong as they once were, and digestion slows down, making it harder to fight off bacteria. Add chronic conditions into the mix, and you have a perfect storm for food safety issues. Today, we're diving into the 4 foods seniors must reheat properly, and the 4 foods you should avoid reheating altogether. You won't believe some of the shocking facts we're about to reveal, so make sure you stick with us till the very end. You won't want to miss this important information that could protect your health or that of someone you love. Let's start with the foods you should always reheat carefully. Number 4 on the list is leftovers that contain meat, poultry, or seafood. You might think it's just a simple task to heat up your leftover chicken or fish, but there's more to it than meets the eye. The first rule to remember is the 2-hour rule. This means you should never leave perishable foods like meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs out at room temperature for more than 2 hours. If it's a hot day and the temperature is above 90-degree damp, that window shrinks to just 1 hour. Why? Because bacteria love to grow in the temperature range between 40 degrees Celsius and 140 degrees Celsius, which we call the danger zone. And the problem is, just reheating meat or seafood doesn't kill the bacteria that may have started to grow. You need to heat it to at least 165 degrees internally to make sure any harmful bacteria are destroyed. This includes fish, shrimp, and even pre-cooked deli meats, like hot dogs. So, when reheating meat or seafood leftovers, make sure you use a food thermometer to check the temperature. It's the only way to be sure. A hot dog or deli meat might seem harmless, but it carries a bacteria called Listeria, which can even grow in the fridge. For seniors, this is a huge concern, because Listeria can cause serious health problems. So, whether it's a leftover chicken, breast, or a few slices of deli meat, always reheat them to 165 degrees to stay safe. Now, moving on to number 3, soups and stews. These are often great make-ahead meals, and they can be so comforting, especially in the colder months. But when reheating, there's a big thing to keep in mind. You need to make sure the whole batch gets hot enough to kill any bacteria that might have grown while it cooled or was stored. If you just heat the edges and leave the center cold, you're not really reheating it properly. And that's a recipe for foodborne illness. The best way to do this is to stir the soup or stew, often while reheating, to ensure even heat distribution. It's also important to know that reheating soups and stews may actually make them taste better. That's because the flavors often meld together more after being stored overnight, and reheating can enhance those flavors. Plus, reheating vegetable soups can break down the vegetable cell walls, which can release more minerals and beneficial plant compounds, making them even healthier for you. So, not only will you be eating a safer meal. Next up, number 2, cooked rice, especially brown rice. This is another food that might seem harmless but needs special attention when reheating. Here's the deal. When rice is cooked and then left at room temperature for too long, it can develop a bacterium called Bacillus cereus, which produces toxins that are resistant to heat. So, if you leave that rice sitting out for too long before refrigerating it, reheating it might not make it safe to eat. The key to reheating rice properly is making sure it cools quickly after cooking and is stored right after. Once it's in the fridge, make sure to reheat it thoroughly before eating. Brown rice, in particular, is packed with fiber, B vitamins, and other important nutrients. Plus, when rice is cooked and cooled, it develops something called resistant starch, which is a type of fiber that's great for your gut health. So, when you reheat brown rice, you not only get a safe meal, but it could also have some extra health benefits. Just make sure to follow the proper cooling and storage steps, and you're good to go. Finally, number 1 on the must reheat list. Dishes where you've combined pre-cooked ingredients that were stored separately. Let's say you cooked chicken breasts yesterday and roasted some vegetables separately. If you store them in different containers and then decide to combine them for a quick meal, you might think that it's already safe to just warm it up. But, unfortunately, that's not enough. To be absolutely sure that your meal is safe, you need to reheat the combined dish until the chicken or any meat reaches 165 degrees internally. Why? Because even though the chicken and veggies were stored properly on their own, combining them can introduce the risk of cross-contamination or bacterial growth during storage or handling. So, always make sure to reheat the entire dish to that safe temperature. This is one step you can't afford to skip for the sake of food safety. Now that we've covered the foods you absolutely must reheat properly, let's flip the coin and talk about the foods that seniors should generally avoid reheating. Number 4 on the list is fried foods. We all know how tempting it can be to try to reheat that leftover fried chicken or French fries, but trust me, it's not worth it. Microwaving fried foods is a total disappointment. They end up soggy, greasy, and completely lose their crispy texture. While it might not be a huge safety issue, if you reheat fried food properly, the loss of texture and quality can make them unappetizing. If you're determined to reheat fried food, consider using an air fryer or a conventional oven to try and restore some of that crispiness. However, if the food contains meat, make sure it's still reheated thoroughly to the proper temperature. Next, on the list of foods to avoid reheating are dishes with creamy sauces or dairy. Think things like fettuccine alfredo or casseroles with cheese and cream. When you reheat these, the sauces tend to separate, getting oily or watery, and they might even curdle, leaving you with a grainy texture that's just unpleasant to eat. Even though reheating dairy products isn't usually a safety issue, the texture and taste can be so bad that it's just not worth it. Creamy dishes are best enjoyed fresh, so avoid reheating them if you can. Number 2 on the avoid list is eggs, especially hard-boiled or scrambled eggs. While eggs are a great source of protein, reheating them is a different story. When you heat them again, especially at high temperatures, the proteins in the eggs tighten up, making them tough, rubbery, and difficult to digest. Reheated scrambled eggs are especially bad for this. There's also the concern about reheating eggs that were cooked with fats like butter or oil. When these eggs are reheated, there's a risk of something called oxidized cholesterol forming. This is a type of cholesterol that can contribute to inflammation and might be harmful to your arteries over time. So, even though eggs are nutritious, it's best to cook them fresh rather than reheating them. Finally, number 1 on the foods. Seniors should avoid reheating is mushrooms. This one might surprise you, but it's true. Reheating mushrooms can cause some serious issues. Cooked mushrooms have complex proteins that can break down or denature when reheated, which can lead to digestive issues like bloating, stomach upset, or even nausea. For seniors with more sensitive digestive systems, this can be a real problem. There's also a food safety concern if mushrooms aren't cooled and stored properly. If they're left out too long, harmful bacteria like Clostridium botulinum or Listeria can grow. If you do choose to reheat mushrooms, make sure they're cooled and stored correctly, and then heat them to at least 158 degrees Celsius. However, because of the digestive issues they can cause and the strict temperature requirements, it's usually better to enjoy mushrooms fresh. And there you have it, a full guide to the foods seniors should and shouldn't reheat. Remember, food safety is crucial, especially for older adults whose immune systems aren't as strong. Whether it's properly reheating leftovers or avoiding certain foods altogether, following these simple guidelines can make a huge difference in protecting your health. Now, before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are some of your favorite methods for safely using up leftovers at home? Were there any surprises on our list today? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to share this video with friends and family who might benefit from this important information. Stay safe, eat well, and thanks for watching.